Roy had died 139 times. And each time, he came back to life, always waking up on the same morning, repeating the exact same day. After so many revivals, he memorized every moment, every detail. On his 139th loop, Roy awoke and immediately ducked, narrowly avoiding a knife. Still in motion, he slipped on his shoes, dodged another strike, stood up, and leaned just in time to avoid a third attack. He knew every move the assassin would make, the timing, the angles, the rhythm. He didn't need armor, his reflexes and a t-shirt were enough to block every blow. Calmly, Roy poured himself a cup of hot coffee, took a sip, and waited. The moment the attacker stood, Roy splashed the scalding liquid right in his face. But the chaos was only beginning. An attack helicopter appeared outside, with another assassin on board manning a Gatling gun. Roy took cover behind a stone pillar, fully aware that the first barrage of bullets would take out the original killer. Precisely 8 seconds later, the gun jammed. That was Roy's cue. He stepped out, hurled a knife, and struck the second gunman right in the head. With the shooter down, the malfunctioning gun continued to fire off target, its bullets drifting to the right. Roy simply followed the misfiring trail to safety. He didn't know why any of this was happening, only that the helicopter would crash into his building in exactly 8 seconds. 13 seconds after that, its rotor blades would rain down, and 5 seconds later, the entire thing would explode. Roy dove out the window just in time, landing, perfectly, in a garbage truck. That landing wasn't luck. He had missed the truck 22 times before, one of which ended with him being flattened in the street. Next, he hijacked a sports car. By now, laws meant nothing to him. The panicked driver shouted the same phrase every time, "Get me to Georgia." But no one ever did. Roy took his sunglasses anyway. Then came the third wave, a pair of heavily armed assassin sisters. They had killed Roy 14 times already. But they weren't the only ones. Throughout the day, Roy faced at least 7 different killer groups. He had been blown up twice by a mad bomber called Kaboom, killed 3 times by a clone of himself, and sliced to death 8 times by a deadly swordswoman named Guan. Roy had managed to defeat every assassin at least once, except Guan. She was too fast, too precise. She always struck from the shadows and took his head with one clean cut. Then she'd say her chilling catchphrase, "I am Guan, and I have done this." Even when Roy survived every wave, he didn't try to uncover the truth or search for answers. He went to a bar, ordered 2 bottles of China's strongest liquor, and drank himself senseless. He had tried to fight back. But there were too many killers, too skilled, too relentless. He had never survived past 12:47 p.m. Eventually, he gave up. Still, Roy had a theory. The person behind this endless cycle might be his ex-wife, Gemma, a brilliant physicist working at Dino Labs. Just the day before, Roy had visited her lab. She looked nervous, even desperate. She asked for his help but wouldn't explain why. Without him noticing, she clipped a strand of his hair. Then she told him, "I hope you stop wasting your life. Pull yourself together. Be the man you used to be." Roy had once been a special forces soldier, but after leaving the military, his life lost direction. Middle-aged, jobless, and broken, he spiraled downward, and Gemma left him. But maybe now, for reasons he didn't understand, she had given him another chance. Not just one, but an unlimited number. When Roy tried calling her, her boss, Colonel Venter, answered instead. "Gemma is already dead," he said coldly. "And you're next." It had become painfully clear, Colonel Venter was the mastermind behind everything. But even knowing this, Roy lacked the will to fight back. After all, every single day felt like a cruel video game stuck in hell mode, and he couldn't even get past level 1. Until resurrection number 145. By chance, Roy took refuge in an underground mall. That's when he spotted someone unexpected, his son Joe. Guilt hit Roy like a wave. He hadn't seen Joe in years. He'd failed him as a father. But in that fleeting moment, he chose to reconnect. As they exited the mall together, Roy glanced at the time, 12:50 p.m., the latest he'd ever survived. Why hadn't the assassins shown up yet? Then it clicked, the underground mall had no cell signal. He was being tracked. And just like that, they came, one by one, weapons drawn. But Roy didn't run. Instead, he turned to Joe and held him tightly, embracing the one thing that still mattered. The bullets tore into his back. Yet this death wasn't painful, not like the others. This time he saw something in Joe's eyes, shock, sorrow, and love. And for the first time in 145 revivals, Roy felt peace. Resurrection 146. Roy didn't waste time. He grabbed the first assassin and demanded answers. How are you tracking me? But the man refused to speak, even in death. So Roy turned to someone he trusted, his friend Dave, a counter-surveillance expert. If someone implanted a tracker inside a human, Roy asked, where would it be? Dave didn't hesitate, the teeth. Suddenly, Roy remembered last night's date, a suspiciously attractive dentist. She'd brought him to her clinic and insisted on checking his teeth. That was it. Roy rushed into a bathroom and, with agonizing determination, began pulling out his own teeth, one by one, rinsing each extraction with strong liquor. The pain was excruciating, but finally he found the bugged tooth. From that day on, everything changed. Roy used the tracker against the assassins, baiting, ambushing, and eliminating them one by one. Now it was time for the final target, Colonel Venta. Roy headed straight to Dino Labs. He floored the gas pedal, aiming to crash through the front gate, but missed and slammed into a wall, dying instantly. Revival. Try again. This time, he sent a decoy vehicle rigged with explosives. The blast cleared the path, but the head of security ambushed him. Another failure. Next attempt. Roy killed his clone assassin, stole his ID, and infiltrated the building in disguise. In the elevator, a guard asked for clearance. Roy swiped the ID, wrong clearance. Shot dead. Fourth try, Roy shot the guard before he could ask anything, but when the doors opened, a firing squad awaited. Roy shot himself to avoid capture. Fifth try, he noticed a security camera in the elevator. That's how they kept anticipating him. Sixth try, disguised as the guard early on, he avoided detection and reached the hallway, only to find his greatest enemy waiting, Guan the swordswoman. Roy had a gun. She had a blade. But it didn't matter. She moved faster than bullets, slicing his weapon, and his head, with surgical precision. Revival 152. Roy returned with a submachine gun. She dodged every bullet and stabbed him through the gut. 153, a rifle. Still useless. After 20+ deaths, Roy understood, to defeat Guan, he needed to beat her at her own game. So he sought out Daong, a legendary swordmaster, undefeated world champion for 12 years. Roy begged her to train him. Seeing his sincerity, Daong agreed. At first, they practiced barehanded, using fingers as pretend blades. Roy was constantly beaten. After every training session, he killed himself to restart and retain the lesson. Gradually he improved, advancing from bare hands to wooden swords. His technique grew sharper with every loop. By Revival 174, he could finally match Daong for several moves. Eventually, he graduated to live blades, and after just 7 strikes, he defeated his teacher. Armed with real skill and new resolve, Roy returned to face Guan. He laid down his gun, took a sword from the wall, and waited. She charged. But Roy didn't flinch. Their swords clashed, and in just 2 moves, he clipped a lock of her hair. Round after round, his blade danced near her throat, until finally he struck her down. Then came Colonel Venta. Old, brittle, and no match for Roy's strength, the fight was over quickly. Broken and gasping, Venta sneered, revealing the final twist. I sent someone to kill your son, Joe. You're already too late. Panicked, Roy raced to find Joe, but arrived too late. His son lay dead. Roy collapsed, consumed by grief. Despite hundreds of revivals, he had failed to protect the one person who truly mattered. Then the unthinkable happened. The infinite restart machine overloaded and exploded, destroying the entire city. Roy woke up again. But this time, he had no fight left. He let the assassins kill him. Over and over. Revive. Die. Repeat. Until something shifted. Roy stood up. Not to fight, but to change. He went to Joe. Talked to him. Played video games. Bought him snacks. When the world exploded, he simply restarted and spent another day with him. Through this, Roy discovered what it meant to be a father. Then one day, Joe said something unexpected. Mom called me this morning. Gemma was alive? Roy suddenly realized, every day, he revived at 7 a.m. He had 14 minutes to reach her before she was killed. No more hesitation. Revival. Roy raced to the lab by helicopter, arriving at 7:10. At 7:12, he fired the Gatling gun, wiping out the assassins in 10 seconds. 2 minutes later, he stormed the facility and gunned down Venter just moments before he could kill Gemma. He'd done it. He saved her. Gemma embraced him, whispering, I knew you could do it. But their fight wasn't over. The machine was still going to explode. There was only one way to stop it. Someone had to enter the core. It was a one-way trip. The person might vanish forever. Roy didn't hesitate. He wasn't the broken man he once was.
He was a husband, a father, a protector.
He kissed Gemma, thought of Joe, and stepped into the core. A flash of white swallowed everything. If you enjoyed this recap and want more mind-blowing twists, hidden secrets and emotional journeys like Kyle's, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. There's so much more to uncover, and we'll be right here to break it all down for you. See you in the next video.